think I first heard it associated with my father, actually, when I was in my early 20s. My father also suffers from clinical depression.
And by the time I was 23, I knew that I was so miserable that I knew that I needed professional help.
Well, I felt that I was extremely unhappy, that I was inordinately sad, that I had a tendency to withdraw.
I started noticing it shortly after my accident with the ambulance when I was, I had a head injury. And I noticed that I couldn't keep focused on things. I was always depressed. Like, I couldn't get myself out of a rut.
Every time the depression would come back, it was as if I had never experienced it before. It would be different enough, or more real, or more hopeless than the one previous.
There's a lot of pain that you're going through, but you really don't recognize it. I never recognized it as even having a word for it.
Depression, it will put you into try to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else.
You know, you feel like doing nothing, and you're not really motivated to do anything, and you're not ambitious, and you feel that the whole world is singling you out.
Crying a lot, and not eating, no interest in activities, and I felt something was wrong.
I thought, I'll never be able to live through this life feeling this way.
My first child, I was 18. I had my second child when I was 20. When I was 21, my husband died and left me with 2 little boys and a lot of anger.
Depression is caused by loss, whether it's through the death of a loved one, a job, a disappointment. It can be caused by the loss of a physical ability. It can be caused by medication, physical illness, or sometimes it can occur out of the blue. Whatever the cause, it is an interaction between the life event and one's biochemical makeup that can lead to the illness of depression.
I basically stayed in bed for about a month, and I would emerge for meals, and I wouldn't go to class, and I would come back and I would use the excuse, oh, well, I still have the flu.
I think the most serious part of the depression is that it completely transforms your mind into a totally irrational, hopeless, black thing, and no one can reason with you. And I become, very early on, focused on death, and I become my own murderer.
Your career follows a very shaky path, and relationships are also very hard to nail down.
I ended up losing my marriage and my kids, and I was bouncing from job to job. And eventually I ended up basically in the streets.
I feel like I have no energy. I feel like I don't want to eat. I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to listen to music. I lie in bed all day and cry. And also I lose weight, and I don't take care of my personal hygiene as well as I could.
I used to feel like I wasn't worth anything, and when I wake up, I didn't want to get out of bed, and I would slump around the house, and I would do relatively nothing throughout the day. I would sleep a lot, and I didn't want to be bothered. I was irritable, and I just was in my own world. I was isolating myself from society.
You don't enjoy anything that you had enjoyed before. And anything that you used to derive pleasure from, say music, socializing with friends, going to a ball game, any of those things completely lose their luster.
I lost all urge for sex. I basically I didn't go out with my wife. I would let her go out with her girlfriends. I was basically staying home. I didn't want to go outside or nothing.
It's a whole body illness that affects your mind and the body at the same time. It affects the way you sleep, eat, think, your energy level, but most importantly, it affects the way you feel about yourself, that you feel bad, you may feel worthless, you may feel hopeless, and you may think that life is not worth living, that you don't deserve help, and that leads to suicidal thoughts.
People talk about pain. There is mental pain. And it's worse than physical pain. It's a feeling that nothing will ever be right in your life. A feeling that no one's ever going to love you again. That something terrible is going to happen to you eventually because, you know, it's a hopeless disease. That's how you feel when you get it.
You start thinking about the wrong things. You start thinking about old days, and you get deeper and deeper. And you can see it. It's a physical thing. You can see the darkness coming right in front of your eyes. People don't, you know, people that haven't been through it don't understand it, but you do see a darkness.
It's hard to say, but I feel like, damn, I feel like, you know what I'm saying, killing myself, but I tried it, but that ain't the way to go, man, you know what I'm saying? People gotta chill these days. That ain't the thing to do. You know what I'm saying? You got a future ahead of you, you know what I'm saying? You got a future ahead of you. You can't be doing that.
I gathered together an incredible array of medications, of mine, of my mother's. And I went away to this little pond that I used to like to hike around and swallowed them all and came home and basically isolated myself in the basement watching TV. And I was interested in, like, feeling what it was like to die.
Suicide represents a way out for people, a solution to a problem, but it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and that problem is usually depression. It is the intense psychological or mental pain that people feel, and that suicide becomes a solution rather than realizing that treatment is the solution.
I don't believe I was convinced that I was depressed. Everyone around me was convinced that I was depressed. I wouldn't accept it, acknowledge it, believe it. Not me. Not anyone as strong as me could ever fall victim to depression. That was for other people.
No, I think it's a lot harder, again, for men to seek help because men are taught to be staunchly independent and to help themselves and to not go to people and asking for help. So it seems to be a lot harder for a man to admit that there's something wrong, and even after you've admitted there's something wrong, to go to someone else to make it right.
In our society, a man is sort of the pillar of society, and he's supposed to be strong and, you know, always there and support the family unit and the wife. But when you don't have that, when you're depressed, that's taken away from you.
I think the major challenge is this is still one of those things where you really don't feel you can share it with your peers. If you talk about being depressed while you're in college, you become pigeonholed into, you know, into this sort of crowd.
I attributed my symptoms to everything but I had no idea what depression was. And I thought it was the stress of being in school, the fear of the newness of all of it, the pressure, the loneliness, you know, the intensity of being stranded alone. It was really my first time away from home.
They know that something's wrong because they're not eating as well, they're not sleeping as well, their energy seems down, they don't feel useful, they don't feel needed, but they don't understand that this is all part of a collection of symptoms that have a name to it called depression.
And they told me that I was depressed. I was relieved. I mean, I was just so happy that it had a name and that they could do something for it.
Many people don't know they're depressed. They just assume that this is the way life is. It's sort of like having an eye problem. You don't know that the world is clear until the optometrist puts the lenses in front of your eyes to make it sharper.
When a person goes for an evaluation for depression, they should expect several things. First, they would be given a complete psychological exam, which has to do with a history of of one's moods, the symptoms they've been having, family history, medical history, and may require a physical exam, where there are certain physical illnesses that can cause depression. But once that has been ruled out and a person has been determined that they have the illness of depression, a treatment plan would be developed. And that treatment plan include medication, talking therapy, and at times support groups.
The medication helps sort of lift you enough out of that fog that through talking therapy you can really address the rest of the issues and find your way out of it.
Wow. The clouds started to lift. And this was the first time in my life, really, first time in my life. Things were so different. I didn't feel awkward. I didn't feel scrutinized. I was beginning to feel comfortable, and I didn't want to lose this for anything.
So I could sit down with my therapist and we have good talks. And just having somebody listen, not actually say anything, but just listen, helps me a lot.
If you go to different groups and meet different people, you can pick up a gem here and a gem there. If you combine some cognitive therapy with your regular therapy, you know, you put the two together and you can handle this illness and still live a full life.
If you do seek professional help, tell them everything that you've been experiencing, all the foolish feelings, all the strange thoughts, all the physical symptoms, you know, not eating or oversleeping, and that will make it easier for them to help you.
And when this started, I kept attributing to different things that were going on around me, saying, you know, no, this must be, you know, I'm just letting this bother me too much.
I mean, I think with Lisa, the process started with her deciding that she needed to come in and talk to someone. And that's where the National Depression Screening Day proved to be of such benefit to Lisa.
And when I found where I needed to go, they were very pleasant, made it very comfortable and unintimidating. And they did a questionnaire and then took everyone into a room to see a film. And as I sat there, when they turned the lights off and watched the film, and I saw other people that had been years not knowing what was wrong with them, at the state that I was in right then, and had let their lives just completely fall apart, I knew that I needed to save mine right then.
We approached it was medication-wise, making sure that she was started on an appropriate antidepressant, which she was started on. And then the way I approached it in my work with her was from the standpoint of cognitive behavioral therapy for depression, and where we examined the kinds of thoughts she was having and the kind of feelings she was having, what they meant to her, and how she had been kind of beating up on herself.
Until I realized that it could be chemical, that maybe it wasn't something I could pray about and it go away. I felt like it was a weakness, like I had failed.
Clinical depression is an illness, and it's so important to get that message across, and that it can be treated, and that it isn't about being a bad person. I often tell people that I don't see bad people. I see good people who feel real bad.
No matter how much I tried to be the super mom, the super wife, the everything to everybody, and it wasn't doing anything for me.
It isn't just a bad day. It's not just a transitory, temporary emotion, but it just pervades every aspect of one's life. And I think one of the difficulties people have who are experiencing their first depression is so many well-meaning and well-intentioned friends, many times family, will say things like, just snap out of it. And the experience of not being able to snap out of it, and not being able to simply think positive thoughts, or the fact that some really good things are happening objectively in your life, and it doesn't change that mood. That captures more about what clinical depression feels like.
I still have my low days, but they're a lot easier to get through.
You have to seek help. You have to go for counseling. If possible, you may need some medication for it. All these things are good to help you, not to hinder you or to hurt you, but it's there for you.
Even if people try to belittle you, don't let it keep you from getting help, making that first move, because that could be the start of a new life.
Reaching out shows how strong you become. It shows that you're not afraid to let somebody step in and help you out with whatever problems you're having, and just reach out. Don't hold it in, because it's self-destructive, and I got the scars to show it.
When I met other people that were going through the same things that I were, and that I could also see were very competent, good, humane, caring people, I immediately felt at ease, I think, with having the illness. And maybe that's when the stigma kind of dissolved for me.
Depression was god-awful, but I survived. That's very important as you get older. To survive is wonderful.